Howdy, y'all. So, today I just wanted to talk about Volibear in Roofbound. I've been kind of surprised with the amount of success I've had with the, Volibear Relentless Storm Legend. It's genuinely shocked me how good this card is, how good this deck has been. I've top aided several skirmishes. I've been doing really well at my Nexus nights, and it's not like I'm playing versus just people on budget stuff. I've been playing against people, trying their best with, Misfortune, Kaisa, Timo, Annie, like, going through the gauntlet, and it is genuinely like really shocking how good this can be and how close the matches are. Even the losses are very close, and it is just a very good, consistent deck. Uh, we and I'm just like kind of shocked no one really is playing it. I'm the only person who ever brings this, and I do really well every time. So I just wanted to share my list, give a little deck tech breakdown on like what the reasoning behind some things and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So first off, it's pretty obvious you'd go Volibear Furious as your chosen champion. The 12 cost one is way too expensive. It's very hard to cast. The 12 drop, but the 10 is very good. You get 5 damage when it attacks. It has deflect 2, so it is just extremely hard to deal with removal. And if they do answer it with removal, they're paying a very hefty cost of 2 instead of 1, especially if they need to Falling Star it. They gotta recycle 4 for just to target, for the luxury of targeting this thing. And in case you don't know, Volibear Relentless Storm, whenever you play a Mighty unit, you tap it, and you get to channel a Rune Exhausted. So, ramps you, keeps you from behind with high energy cost or high power cost big guys. So, let's start with the initial core of the deck, which is uh, the Aurora package. So for the Aurora package, this obviously you're playing 3 Aurora. You just play this as soon as you can, usually on turn 3 or turn 4. This is more of a turn 4 Aurora deck than a turn 3 one, but this is the best card in the deck. It just will run the games for you. Makes a lot of non-games, but just playing this as soon as you can just will set you up for success. And then the big guy package: 3 Cadrigan, 3 Dead Bloom Predators. These 9 cards are kind of unnegotiable, in my opinion. You play these 9 cards if you're seriously trying to like win a deck, and then everything else you can change to better fit your playstyle. But these are the best in slots for the deck currently. For the rest of the big stuff, I'm choosing to run 2 of the 12 cost orange Volibear and a single Magma Worm. So people say the orange Volibear is a trap. I think it's not a trap in specifically the Volibear deck. 1 in 5 games, I very easily hard cast this guy, and we'll get into this like a little bit later, but drawing this in hand isn't always, and not being able to cast it doesn't mean it's necessarily a dead card. Magma Worm it's a great hit off of Aurora because you spend 2 power on Aurora, you tap your Volibear, you go up 1, so will have 10 mana the following turn. You can just follow up your Magma Worm hit with your Champ Zone Volibear, and just swing the game back in your favor immediately, removing something, and then It's also just a fine hard cast. Because it's a single power, you just go 8, play this, get the rune back, and then follow up with Volibear again anyways. I like this Magma Worm as a one-of. It has done a lot of work for me, and it always surprises me how good this one-of is. Sometimes it's a bit overkill. You're in like positions where you don't need your units to enter ready, but it is just a very solid um, thing to get you into some winning positions. But yeah, that's it for the big stuff. And now, how do we get to the big stuff? We are going to be doing 2 Buccaneers. 3 Mobilize. 3 Catalyst. And then 3 Blazing Scorchers. So one of the best curves in the deck. I mean, I did this last night against a Kaisa player, and he was like, "Wow, I don't know how to beat that." Turn 1 Mobilize, turn 2 Scorcher into a turn 3 Dead Bloom. And 13 Might on turn 3 is, that's a good rate. That's pretty good. Buccaneers are kind of like catalysts. 4 and 5. Just making sure you have a play on turn 2 is really big in this deck. Missing early hurts a lot, and these may not be great cards, but they help you curve out. You discard off 1 early, you then can accelerate a Scorcher on turn 3, and then same thing. Well, I mean, if you go this on turn 2, you'll have 7 mana on turn 3, and then you go accelerate a Scorcher, you get the 1 power back, and then you'll have 9 mana on turn 4 for your Aurora. 10 Might in play already. That's really good. That's pretty decent. It's a great way to start the game. Curving out with units is just something the other Aurora decks don't have access to, and these may not be the best things to hit off your Aurora, but you don't really care. Just putting these moderately sized dudes onto the battlefield is just, it doesn't really matter what you're putting onto the battlefield as long as you hit like one large guy over the course of like 2 or 3 turns, you're fine. But that is it for the ramp. So we got the big guys and how we get to the big guys, and now it's time for the removal package. So we're gonna start with 3 Sabotage. Not much to say about this. It's 1 energy, 1 power. You get to look at your opponent's hand and take out a non-unit card. This is almost always live, and it's genuinely just one of the best cards in Orange playing. It is very hard to see myself not playing the 3 ways to disrupt my opponent's hand. It's the only ways to interact with a Time Warp, a Cathian Rain, Unchecked Power, Game 1, and it's genuinely just really, and also just knowing what's in your opponent's hand is just very valuable information. But now into the actual hard removal. So the real reason to play Volibear is access to Sky Splitter. If Sky Splitter is good, you should seriously consider playing Volibear. If 0 mana, deal 5 is good, then the deck is pretty good. Free interaction is king. Something I didn't mention before, it is uh, when you're playing out the deck, 2 mana and less interaction is the best thing you can be running. It is very easy to develop a unit and then play hold up 2 mana. So anything less than 2 mana is very, very good. 10 mana, you go Dead Bloom, 2 mana interaction, and we're going to get to the 2 mana interaction right now. 3, Get Excited. This is the best. These are your best removal spells, maybe even the best cards in the deck. We're playing the orange Volibear, so Get Excited has a maximum damage ability of 12, but it very reasonably does 9, 8, 6. 2 mana deal 6 is great. 2 mana deal 8 is fantastic. We aren't running any 7 drops, so it can't deal 7, but that's not really a big deal. When your opponent plays a Watcher of the Thousand Eyes, you can discard your Sky Splitter to deal 8 to the Watcher. It had this card will win you games. Sure, you go down a card, but you don't really care. You never really care with Get Excited, because it's going to be a huge blowout every time you cast this card. And it's not like you don't use this to remove small dudes. Sometimes you do. But for the most part, you're just holding on to this for the late game, for the important turns, to blow out your opponent's big dudes. No other deck besides yellow have access to just basically hard removal. And then lastly, I'm choosing to play 3 challenges. And I mean, not much to say about this. 2 mana, 1 power is just what you're looking for. This is your base removal, so it is one of the best cards you can play. It doesn't really help you hold too well, but it just lets you proactively develop a unit, challenge something, win the game. That's it for the removal package. Now, that's not it for the removal package. I almost forgot. I'm playing 2 Stormbringers. Stormbringer is an incredible card. And another reason to play Volibear in this color combination, orange-red. This is a movement card. It is removal. It is everything you want. So you choose a unit in your base. Very important. It deals damage to all units at a battlefield equal to its might. So if you have a unit, the minimum in this deck is 5. So 5 to everything at a battlefield, and then it moves the unit to the battlefield for a pretty easy conquer. Normally you want to see at least one of these throughout the game. Sometimes it's overkill, but in a lot of situations, this card will save you when no other card will. And then the last 2 cards in the deck, I'm going to leave the Stormbringers here because they're kind of important. Together, we are playing a single Confront and a single Vi in an Aurora deck. Oh my goodness! Why are you playing a cheap card in your Aurora deck? That's sacrilege. You're going to lose games. Oh, first off, it's a one-of, so you're very unlikely to hit it off your Aurora. But more importantly, Vi is just probably one of the best units in the entire game. It gets bigger than anything else in the game. It's the biggest cheap unit you can play. So if you don't have any units on board, you just hold your Vi into your hand. You play your Vi. You have 8 mana, or you have 10 mana. You play your Vi, you recycle a bunch of stuff, and then you Stormbringer your Vi. It guarantee wipes anything that any deck could put put in there, assuming you have the cards in your yard, and you will have them in the late game. The confront, it's just a cantrip most of the time, but it does have applications with, double conquering with Vi. Like I said, you have 10 mana. Very easy to have 10 mana in this deck. You confront, you play your Vi, it enters ready, you recycle a bunch, you Stormbringer your Vi, you move it to that battlefield, and then you gank over, and that's usually, that's a double conquer win. 3-card combo, double conquer win. You can have Vi sit on a battlefield behind an orange Volibear. This will protect it from getting removed in combat. They'll have to use hard removal on her. And then you can have the ability, access to ganking. Ganking is such a powerful keyword. Being able to just jump battlefields. And this is just like, it is cheap, very strong, and just an incredible utility unit. But the main reason, another good reason to play it is for the Aurora Mirror matches. If you're in an Aurora Mirror match, you just hold on to your Vi until the late game, and then you just play it, and then you just put all of your units back in your deck. That's how this, and then you never run out of gas for your Aurora to keep going in. This just keeps you from dying to fatigue in just the longest grindy games. That hasn't really come up lately, but it's a nice option to have with this single card in the deck. Alright, that's the main deck. The main deck sorted. Now we're going to get on to the side deck. So for Aurora, Misfortune matchups, or even Teemo, when you're trying to deal with Mundos, Warwick being a hard removal spell is just very, very good. Get any amount of damage on him, on what you want to remove, whether it be from your Champ Zone Volley. You get 5 points of damage to divvy up, so you can kill up to 5 units with Warwick. If you want to discard a 2-drop with your Get Excited, then play your Warwick and then kill the Mundo. That's an option. Usually for the Aurora matchup, I bring in both of these, and then I will take out these 2 Buccaneers. These just aren't hitting important units off of your Aurora isn't really the biggest deal, but except in the Aurora Mirror matches when you're going toe to toe, and having 5 vanilla 5/5s to hit can cost you games. So I just do a 2-for-2 swap here. I keep the Scorchers in because Accelerate is very good, and just the whole mobilize into a Scorcher into a Dead Bloom angle is still very good. So yeah, that's what I do for my Aurora matchups. For blue, red, for your blue and red, your Kaisa mirror matches, I choose to bring in 3 Unyielding Spirits. These are just very good tech for unchecked power. Singularities, whatever the blue one that deals 6 damage to 2 units, just this will save your bacon a lot of the time. And I'm taking out the 1 of Vi, the 1 of Confront, and a Stormbringer to get these in. Vi is very bad into those removal heavy matchups where they can just target this in base. Stormbringer is less good because of all of the hard removal. They aren't really holding with a lot of units. It's usually just 1. I keep the 1 of Stormbringer in the deck though because of it's just a nice flexible movement tool to have that you don't really get access to in orange or red. You know, just being able to move your unit to base after holding and then Stormbringer over is a nice one of effect to have, but I don't want to ever draw two, so I take one out and put in three unyielding. And the same is true for any aggro matchup. I take out these three cards, and then I bring in three Falling Star. This is mainly for or just like any deck that has like a lot of cheap critters trying to play to the board early and just run me out of the game. I just bring in the Falling Stars, you know, like I said earlier. Very easy to develop a unit and then play a 2-mana interactive spell, and Falling Star is the best 2-mana interactive spell in the game. This you can put 2 into a Darius to answer it while it's in base. You don't only have challenge to answer things in base anymore. These just are your nuts and bolts cards. And you just take out the cheeky double conquer tech and you just bring in the always good removal spells. But that's it for the sideboard. Now, quickly, so we go over runes. I'm just playing 6 and 6 of red and orange. No real reason for that. Like, you're playing a ramp deck, a lot of your double pips. You essentially like mathematically can't ever brick when you're doing 6 and 6 when you're casting your Aurora. You'll never not have 2 orange for your 9-drop. It's just mathematically impossible when you have an even split, and there's no reason to really deviate from that. Very little. Sometimes you won't be able to play a Falling Star early, but that's fine. You don't want to play your removal early. It's kind of like counterintuitive. You don't want to play your removal early in this deck. You want to save it for double spelling in the late game when you're developing a unit and removing a couple things off the board as well for huge like late game swings instead of like early game. I'm trying to fight early. And then finally, the locations. Every game 1, I do Aspirant's Climb. This is your best location. I'm trying to win game 1, win that game 1 as best as I can. I'm always trying to, and by doing Climb first, and that's usually the best you can do. Longer games favor you more when you're when you're trying to do bigger things, cast more expensive spells. Making the game go longer just makes you more favored. Not too much. When you're going second, you bust out Obelisk of Power to be able to leverage that 4 mana on turn 1. You can almost always leverage the 4 mana more than your opponent can leverage the 3 mana, the extra one they get a lot of the time. And this just leads to very explosive starts. Like, you can play a turn 2 Dead Bloom off of this. You go like Catalyst. You play your turn 1 Catalyst. You go turn 2 Dead Bloom onto, they played the pirate to the open battlefield or whatnot. Then you just Dead Bloom it, and then you're just very, very favored. But now the third location varies quite a bit. It just depends on what you want to use. So, first option, not a great option, Windswept Hillock. Gives all units here ganking. Ganking is a very powerful keyword. Giving your big units ganking is very, very nice. But it is kind of a dangerous one to give your opponents the ability to gank over, so they have a very easy time the first couple of turns double conquering. So if you're feeling it, this could be a solid option, but it's also a very dangerous option that can bite you in the butt. Void Gate is another thing you can play. Uh, Lots of spells and abilities in this deck. In red that deal damage. If you're on Ballista, you should really consider Void Gate. But it's not for this deck. And then there's Vile Mausoleer. This is kind of tech for purple decks. When you want to kind of just negate fighter flights, it just says units can't move from here to base. So the Vile Mausoleer just like turns off fighter flight, turns off flash for Annie, turns just keeps a lot of everything locked down. It can screw you over. I had an issue playing this a couple days ago where I couldn't move my unit to base to Stormbringer over to the other location for game. But it is a good option to have if you're afraid of purple decks. And then what I'm going to go back to for this next and upcoming skirmish is Sigil of the Storm. So when you conquer here, you recycle a rune. You naturally get offset from this by just playing the game normally with your Volibear legend. But you don't really want to go out of your way to conquer this and hold it. What you want to do is you play this game 2, or no, not game 2, game 3, and it's kind of your throwaway battlefield. You commit really hard to the whatever your opponent is playing, and then you just use removal spells to after your opponent conquers here to recycle, and you just really punish your opponent because they won't be able to consistently contest this and hold up runes. This will put them very far behind as long as you are able to hold the other battlefield and force them here. And you don't really contest it that much unless they just give it to you for free, but then yeah, and then you just like forcing a confrontation here and forcing your opponent to fall behind while you're staying at parity. This can screw you over. Like I said, you don't go out of your way to fight here. You just use your removal spells mainly after they conquer it to get your advantage. But yeah, that's the Volibear deck. But yeah, one last time for the battlefields. Game 1, I always do Climb. When I'm on the draw, I do Obelisk of Power. And then for the filler game, I do Sigil of the Storm. Alright, that is the deck tech. Thank you so much for checking this out. I hope I could have given you a bit more insight into how you build your own Volibear decks. I've been having a lot of success with this build of the Volibear. I'll have a link to the actual list in Piltover in the description. Thank you so much for listening in, and I hope you have a great day.